welcome to Nomad Fleet! Yes, I realize by this time in the game I am actually fairly deep into the plot, which I guess you could call it a plot. So here I'm being attacked by some raiders, and they are very not happy with me invading their space. And something you will notice as I open up my thing is I have extra ships there. You see how it's red? 10 out of 8. Um, there's a little bit of a glitch with the game and building things while you're docking, and I will explain that later when I get to a little bit further into the video. Not something I hope stays, and I hope they fix it very quickly, but as you can see here, assigning ships to attack other ships is fairly working. Them actually hitting their target is another question, but it works fairly well. The camera is a bit tweaky and very, very hard to control at the moment. You have your standard WSAD for moving it forward, left, back, and right. You hold click to drag to turn the camera, but getting it to go up and down is another question. And when you're trying to use the camera while it's in accelerated mode, shouldn't affect it. Now you'll see the gigantic armada of interceptors was supposed to kill those 3 ships. They didn't kill a single damn one of them, and are now chasing them down. And the cruisers that are engaging, those little Pentagon ones, they're actually the ones that are killing them because the interceptors are stupid. They're just stupid. They hit absolutely nothing, and they die super quick. The squares there are attacking that Pentagon, and they're just going to annihilate it very quickly. Selecting my interceptors and bombers and everything like that, and trying to get them to kill things, but they're just being extremely stupid and slow. For being interceptors, they actually get outrun by cruisers half the time. I don't understand that one myself, but it happens. Yeah, we're going to cut this up to... Alright, now, you see how I'm trying to, like, get them to go back to the main main fleet there? Getting your ships to actually return to the fleet, or let's just say go to another friendly object, is a lot more difficult than it should be. Now, if you select a ship or a group of ships and you right-click on an enemy, it targets that enemy and goes directly to it. The game realizes you clicked on a red object. You probably want these to go to that red object. Now, cutting over to another video that I took, because this is a perfect example. I was trying to get my ships to return to the mothership, but it would go to the point on the plane the camera thought it was, instead of trying to return to, you know, whatever friendly ship I clicked on. I couldn't just, like, double right click a friendly ship to have it return in formation, or even just return. I don't care if it's information or not. So the only way to do it is to go into the precision tool here that you see, and just line it up with the circle and then drag down till you think you're on a level plane with what you want it to go to. Which is fine for, like, exploring, not so fine for fleet management. So if I select, like, my interceptors or my cruisers here, and I go, hey, I want you to go to this friendly ship, or follow this friendly ship. In any other RTS, even like Sins of a Solar Empire, I could go, I want to select this, follow my Titan. And then any action I told my Titan to do, those other ships would follow it. They wouldn't follow the exact actions, but they would go, hey, this ship is moving, I should probably follow that. If it gets in combat, they also get in combat. If it jumps systems, they also jump systems. This happened. This is a common thing in other RTSs like Warcraft and Starcraft. You can select a unit, right-click a friendly unit, and that friendly unit will become the leader unit. It's also common in Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, all the Age series RTS. Pretty much it's a RTS standard. Now, here's another thing that kind of bothers me is you'll see there I'm trying to get them to that little orange resource dot. That little orange resource dot only shows up as that dot. It doesn't have a this is how high or where it is on the plane in the tactical map. That should probably have a tactical marker, like every other unit in so far, where it shows you it's this high off of you at this distance. It makes it very, very, very difficult. On top of that, you should probably be able to click it with your resource harvesters while on the tactical map. Because here in a second, you'll be able to see that actually getting these things you have to fly them there and then hit the button. You can't just click on it. If you're not in the tactical map, you can click on it and it'll work just as normal. But in the tactical map, not so much. So the best way you can really do it is get them somewhat close to what you want it to do, and then just hit the harvest nearby resources, and they'll hopefully harvest the right thing. Sometimes not. Sometimes they'll just kind of piss off and do their own thing. But that's usually just because there's too many harvesters grabbing one thing, and it tries to find something else that's free. And this is the perfect time, because it's just next up in this video. I'm going to show you how I managed to figure out that you could print as many ships as you wanted, basically. There is basically no unit cap until the developer fixes this. Yep, that simple. Just hit dock. For some reason, while your ship is docked in the mothership or a carrier, it does not count as a ship. It just doesn't count. So, as your ships are docking, just spam click the build unit button. And as long as it's in the queue while your ship count is lowered, it'll just keep building. It won't take into account that your ship count is maxed and stop the queue or skip it or anything like that. It'll just build it. So I'm not quite sure what the developer has to do to that to get it to function properly. Either make it realize you have ships docked, or if your unit cap, if your units hit cap while you're building, stop that building and refund you the costs, or I don't know. Just the first option would probably just be the easiest. Make it still count them as your units, just docked, not non-existent. Yeah, at the end of this playthrough, not. I don't remember if I recorded that far, but I had like almost 300 interceptors, just because they were cheap, and you're supposed to have like 30-ish at most, usually. Yeah, it got to the point where I was just blobbing things with interceptors and bombers, and I was killing dreadnoughts in one volley. It was kind of ridiculous. One thing I did experiment here is whether I could build while doing space jump. Don't try this because it will eat your resources. Anything that is not completed before you jump will just disappear and eat your resources. It just doesn't work. I tried. It was a good experiment. I only burnt enough for 3 bombers, and yeah, it wasn't too bad. And then here we're jumping into a new system. Got that event completed. Got everything harvested. And time for another one of the random events. What do we got? You've crossed the Imperial territory map. Blah 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 blah. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna build more bombers. No. Because they all popped out before I could click the button. But I have a shit ton of them, so it doesn't really matter. And then just watch how fast this stupid thing dies. Select interceptors. Fight the other interceptors. Select bombers. Blow it up. Rah! Yeah, targeting things actually works fairly well, as far as enemy ships goes. So, as far as friendly ships, not so much. Camera controls works fairly well. Oh look, there's another thing down there. Unless you're in accelerated time mode, then it just doesn't work at all. It breaks. Like, it's not just the game that's fast. Yeah, so here's another thing I have an issue with. You can't select enemy units unless they are a capital size or higher. You can't, like, zoom in onto enemy frigates. I want to be able to see them explode. It's like, I don't want to sit there and pan the camera so that I can see it. I want to just watch it explode. I can select my own frigates. Obviously, that would be kind of stupid if I can't. But, yeah, I'm sitting here trying to get like a middle ground camera zoom, and it's just not quite giving me what I want, but I lived with this. Bombs away! Boom, 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 boom. First little grouping took it into armor. And here comes the next wave. Boom, 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 boom. And it's dead. Threat neutralized. With an onslaught of bombers. So I'm not sure what they could really do to that to balance it out a bit, because just sending in a wave of bombers like that, your interceptors just are not going to hit them. So the only way to actually kill them efficiently is to throw cruisers or frigates at them, which seems completely counterintuitive because they're fast, and you want interceptors to intercept fast things. The problem is, interceptors are inaccurate as all hell, and it'll take 20 interceptors to kill one bomber before it lands. And when you're throwing 20 bombers at somebody, you're gonna land at least half of your bombs. And at least half of your bombs are going to do 3/4 or more to a capital ship. They will annihilate motherships without question. Like, it gets to the point where I'm literally one-shotting dreadnoughts and devastators, and it's kinda not funny. Homeworld had a little bit of a balancing with this where you would do less damage the smaller ship you were. So your frigates would do less damage, or your, I forget, what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't even know. Your smaller ships would do less damage to your capital ships. And, Sins of a Solar Empire did this, where, you know, you could kill a Titan with just frigates, cruisers, and, you know, corvettes and everything like that, destroyers, whatever. But it would take forever. The most efficient way to kill a Titan was to throw capital ships at it, or to trap it in a warp zone where it can't warp out to safety, and you've got planet sentries just bombarding it. Well, in this, which is basically just a indie, kind of a spiritual successor to Homeworld, which I love, freaking love Homeworld, and I love that this person is doing this, because it's a great undertaking to make Homeworld replayable. So that's Homeworld's biggest flaw, is that you either had PvP, which was not the greatest, or you played it once because it was a completely linear path with no branching stories or anything. But, yeah, it's got its flaws, it's got its balancing issues that need to be worked out, but for the main... for basically this entire this entire game, I kept my frigates and cruisers very, very close to my mothership as basically just a point defense, because they would just annihilate anything. And then I sent my bombers and interceptors, which were completely replaceable because they're so freaking cheap, out into the fray, and those are what did the brunt of the work. Like, oh god, 1,000 credits for a frigate or 100 credits for a interceptor. I'm gonna build 10 interceptors instead of one frigate that is slow as a capital ship, because it's classified as a capital ship for some reason. And yeah. The interceptor's gonna do more damage than the frigate anyways, because they'll get there. They'll actually make the travel distance to get there. Then you get to watch another one of these little enemy capital ships explode as soon as these bombers get here. It's... honestly, it needs to be balanced a bit, because that's just very, very, very strong. There's no AoE weapons in the game that I could tell, so capital ships have no defense against frigates or bombers. They're not frigates, I keep calling them frigates. I'm playing Eve in the background. Frigates are the smallest ship type in Eve. Oh no, those are the interceptors. I think. Maybe. These might be the bombers that are coming in right now. Yeah, they have basically no defense other than a couple direct target. Yeah, those are the bombers. Direct target, like autocannons that fire at 3 or 4 of them, and when you're throwing 20 or 30 or more at them, they just can't defend themselves at all. So I think a couple good balancing for those could be size difference defense. So the smaller the ship it is, the less it's going to do to a larger ship. Increasing the raw hit points of the flagship capital ships, like the motherships and the carriers and everything like that, because they have kind of pathetic hit points as it stands. I know they're kind of supposed to be destroyable, but even if I threw my frigates at it, it would die really, really quickly. And at some point in this game, I don't remember if I recorded it or not, I actually did. One of them spawned close enough that, and my bombers and interceptors were off fighting something else. I was just like, you know what? Hell with it. I'm just going to throw this stack of like 10 frigates at this dreadnought. And I mean, the dreadnought killed 2 of them, but it was still a non-contest. There's absolutely no contest there. So it should have been something like, hey, use a couple tanky frigates to distract it while other ships, like my cruisers, went in. And I would like to see a little bit more of a big fight to kill the big thing, instead of throw a wave of bombers at it, okay, another one warps in, throw a wave of bombers at it, okay, another one warps in. That would be a nice... I don't want to see the current randomization options changed, because they are actually kind of nice. Maybe as another randomization, random event could be a large capital ship that just makes the mothership look like a freaking toy, and you have to kill it. But it has defenses that can actually kill all the different sizes of ships. So you have to strategically go in and go, okay, throw a frigate, and that will burn its current defenses. You have such and such amount of time to attack it before it charges its weapons. That would be kind of an interesting mechanic that I think they could make use of. And I will wholeheartedly give them free reign over my idea on that part, because that sounds like fun, and I want to see it. Couple other things. I'm sitting here trying to get my ships to cooperate with me right there, and it's just... they're not quite doing it. I'm trying to demonstrate right here that the harvesters have no queue whatsoever when it comes to non-mothership, non-carrier. So right there, one of the harvesters went and unloaded onto the resource cruiser there. And the other one is running down towards the mothership to offload because the resource cruiser was used. And here they go again. One of them goes to the resource cruiser, the other one's heading towards the mothership. It would be excellent if they would just stop at the mothership, or stop at the resource cruiser and queue up. Just wait in a line. It's faster than returning to the mothership, and it would be wonderful. Another good change would be making it so the resource cruiser doesn't stop every time it gets anything wrong with it. Like, if a harvester has to dock with it, it can stop, but after that's done, it should resume its course instead of just canceling it altogether. Because if you're trying to harvest at the same time you're moving your resource cruiser there, and one of the harvesters comes back to dock with it, it'll just stop wherever it is. And just, it won't do anything until you tell it to move again, which badly needs to change. It's a horrible, horrible mechanic that needs to be fixed. Like, now. That's pretty much my biggest pet peeves and issues with Nomad Fleet. For $15, it's actually not a bad game. I enjoyed playing it, even with the issues that I had, and I'll give it the early access benefit of the doubt that they'll fix these. And I actually had a reply on my Steam post from one of the developers that they're looking into some of the issues that I brought up. So hopefully they're ironed out soon. I'm not going to assume they're going to be ironed out next day or next patch or whatever. It's going to take some time for them to figure it out. But I am hoping that this becomes the next playable current generation version of Homeworld, because it is an amazing game concept that I want to bring to the forefront of people that love that type of game, because there's not a whole lot of games out there that dig into this kind of strategy game. So, all in all, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, honestly, and I hope you do too. This is Tana. I'll see you next time.